She begged me to believe the baby was mine. For 2 years, I raised him like my own, until a DNA test shattered everything. What I did next? No one saw it coming. Ever felt like your whole world flipped upside down in a single moment? That's exactly what happened to me. I thought I had it all. A girlfriend, a baby boy I loved more than life, and a future that felt stable. But one lie changed everything. In this video, I'll share how I uncovered the truth, the heartbreak that followed, and why I ended up handing over full custody, not to her, but to the real dad. Buckle up, it's messy, raw, and it's real. Before we dive into the story, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories. Thank you. You ever meet someone and feel like the universe just shoved them into your life on purpose? That was Emily for me. I wasn't out there looking for anything serious. I had just turned 25, was finally getting settled into my new role at work, and life was calm, predictable. I lived alone, spent weekends gaming or hanging with a small circle of friends, and honestly, I was fine with that. Then she showed up. We met at this rooftop party my coworker dragged me to, and I mean dragged. I didn't want to go. I remember standing by the drinks table when she walked up and said, "You look like you hate parties as much as I do." That was it. One line. We clicked instantly. She was funny, charming, wild in the best way. The kind of girl who danced barefoot in the rain and got excited over street food. Being around her felt like an adventure. And for someone like me, who liked plans and routines, that was addictive. We started dating, and it was fast. The late-night talks, spontaneous road trips, staying up to watch cheesy horror movies. It felt like a dream. My friends were a little skeptical, said we were moving too quickly, but I didn't care. I was falling, fast. 3 months in, she told me she was pregnant. We were sitting in my apartment. She was unusually quiet that night, just poking at her food. Then she blurted it out. "I think I'm pregnant." No buildup. No drama. Just those 4 words. I stared at her. My brain kind of froze. I wasn't ready to be a dad. I hadn't even thought about being a dad. But what came out of my mouth was, "Okay, we'll figure it out." She burst into tears. Not happy tears, not sad tears, something in between. She said it wasn't planned, that she was scared, but that she wanted to keep it. I held her, told her we'd handle it together. And in that moment, I meant it. Every word. Looking back, I realize now. I never once asked if she was sure the baby was mine. And maybe you think that's crazy. But in that moment, I trusted her. We weren't perfect, but we were close. And more than anything, I wanted to believe this was fate. Like maybe the universe really did have a plan for us. So I stepped up, full-on dad mode. We started going to doctor appointments together. I saw the first blurry ultrasound and nearly cried. I told my parents. They were shocked, sure, but they came around. My mom knitted a baby blanket the next day. My dad bought a tiny baseball glove and put it on the shelf in my old bedroom. Emily moved in with me a few weeks later. It wasn't even a debate. It just made sense. I started rearranging furniture, setting up a nursery, reading baby books. I downloaded parenting podcasts and set alarms to remind myself when to take her to checkups. She was different after that. Quieter. Less affectionate. She brushed it off as hormones and stress, and I believed her. I wanted to be understanding. I didn't want to push. I told myself I was doing the right thing. That love meant sacrifice. That this baby, our baby, was worth every sleepless night, every dollar I spent prepping for fatherhood. And for a while, things were okay. We went to birthing classes. Bought a stroller. Picked out names. I wanted Liam if it was a boy. She wanted Jaden. We settled on Liam Jaden. It felt right. Then came the baby shower. My friends came. Her family came. We cut the cake and found out it was a boy. Everyone clapped and cheered. I remember looking at her across the room and thinking, this is my life now, and I love it. I didn't know that smile she gave me that day was hiding something. As the due date got closer, things got tense. She seemed anxious, short-tempered. I chalked it up to pregnancy stress again. I kept telling myself not to overthink, that she just needed support. Then Liam was born. And listen, that moment, when they placed him in my arms, I felt something I can't even explain. Like the world paused. This tiny, wrinkly, crying little human. And I loved him. Instantly. Fiercely. He was mine. I didn't even question it. I kissed his forehead and said, "Hey buddy, I'm your dad." And I meant that with everything in me. Emily cried too. She looked exhausted but relieved. She said she was happy I was there. That she couldn't have done it without me. I believed her. I believed everything. We brought Liam home 2 days later. The sleepless nights began. The endless diapers. The crying. The bottle warming. And through all of it, I showed up. I was there. Every moment. I watched his first real smile. Recorded his first little laugh. Held him against my chest when he had colic at 3 a.m. I was all in. But somewhere in that first year, things shifted. Emily started going out more. She'd say she needed me time, which was fair. But she'd come home late, smell like perfume that wasn't hers. I'd ask her where she went, and she'd snap, or lie, or ignore me. One time, I asked her point blank if something was going on. She said I was being paranoid, that I should trust her. And I did. God, I was so desperate to believe in us, in our family, that I ignored all the signs. I let the doubts slide. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was just tired. But deep down, something felt off. Something felt wrong. And I couldn't shake it. Raising a newborn is hard. Everyone tells you that, but no one tells you how lonely it gets, especially when your partner checks out. The first few months after Liam was born, I was fully hands-on. I mean, diapers, bottles, burping, rocking him to sleep. I did it all. I loved it, even though I was exhausted 24/7. But what hit me the hardest wasn't the sleepless nights. It was Emily slowly slipping away. At first, I chalked it up to postpartum stuff. She was distant, zoned out. Always tired, always scrolling her phone with that dead look in her eyes. And when I'd ask her if she was okay, she'd brush me off. "I'm just tired. Stop worrying so much." That became her default answer for everything. I tried everything to keep us close. Date nights, even if they were just in the living room with takeout. Little gifts, compliments, back rubs. I was still so in love with her. But I started to feel like I was the only one trying. Then the me time started. She said she needed breaks. Time to breathe. And yeah, I get that. Parenting is overwhelming. But it started to feel like she wanted more time away from Liam than with him. Some nights, she'd say she was going to a friend's place to vent or just hang out. Sometimes she wouldn't come home until after midnight. She'd walk in smelling like someone else's cologne, her makeup too fresh for someone who supposedly had a crying session. Still, I said nothing. I was scared to rock the boat. I was scared because I had this picture-perfect image of our family in my head, and I didn't want to lose it. But something happened one night that finally cracked the surface. It was 2 a.m. Liam wouldn't stop crying. I was in the nursery, bouncing him on my shoulder, when Emily walked in from girls' night. She was drunk, like wobbling drunk. She looked at me, then at Liam, and said, "Why are you always doing this? He's not even your problem." I froze. "What?" I asked, thinking I misheard. She just blinked, like she didn't even realize she said it. Then she walked past me and crashed into bed. I stood there in the dark, heart racing, Liam still crying on my shoulder. "He's not even your problem." What did that mean? The next morning, I asked her. She played dumb. "What are you talking about?" She laughed. "You're being dramatic. I don't even remember saying that." But something broke in me that day. I couldn't stop thinking about it. That one sentence haunted me. It made me remember little things, like how she once said, "He has your nose," with this strange smirk. Or how she used to hesitate when people asked when we conceived. Or how she avoided taking any family photos during her pregnancy. Still, I didn't want to believe it. So I buried it, pushed it deep down, and told myself I was being crazy. Because how do you question something like that after you've been a dad for over a year? How do you look at a child you've raised since birth and ask, "Are you even mine?" But my trust in Emily was hanging by threads. One day, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone. I hate that I did it. It felt wrong, but some part of me needed the truth. I just couldn't live in this fog anymore. And what I found? It tore my soul in half. She had messages from a guy saved under a fake name, Ashley, flirty texts, plans to meet, talks about Liam. And then, one message that felt like getting punched in the chest. Does he still think the kid is his? My hands were shaking. I read that line over and over again, hoping it wasn't what it looked like. But it was. I confronted her that night, heart racing, voice trembling. Who is this guy, and what does he mean about Liam? Her face went pale, like her soul left her body. She tried to lie. She always did. Said he was just someone from her past, that the text didn't mean anything, that it was just stupid flirting. But I wasn't buying it. I asked her again, direct this time. Is Liam mine? Silence. Her eyes welled up, and that's when I knew. She didn't say anything at first. Just looked down at her hands and whispered, I don't know. I felt like the room was spinning. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. You don't know? I repeated, trying to keep calm. I was with both of you around the same time, she admitted. I thought it was yours. I wanted it to be yours. That night was the end of us. I slept on the couch, staring at the ceiling, holding back tears. Liam was just over a year old. I had fed him, changed him, loved him like my own. But now there was this horrifying question mark over everything. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't look at Emily without feeling sick. Every time I saw Liam's face, I wanted to cry, not because I loved him any less, but because I didn't know where I stood anymore. I told her I needed a paternity test. She resisted at first, said it would ruin everything. But everything was already ruined. A week later, I got the results. Liam wasn't mine. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. It had been sitting on the kitchen counter all day. I'd picked it up a dozen times, stared at my name printed across it like it was mocking me. Part of me didn't even want to open it. I already knew. Deep down, I knew. But once you see it in writing, it becomes real. I waited until Emily left the apartment. Said she was taking Liam to the park. I needed space, not just from her, but from the sound of his little laugh. The sound that used to make me smile, but now tore my chest in half. I sat down, took a deep breath, and opened the results. It was like reading a death sentence. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Zero, not 1%. Not even a chance. Just zero. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, frozen. Like my brain had disconnected from my body. My hands were numb. My heart was numb. The world around me was silent. I had changed diapers at 3 a.m., rocked him to sleep every night, warmed milk half asleep with one eye open, held him close when he had a fever. I was the one who stayed up Googling what to do when he had that weird cough. I had spent over a year believing I was his dad. And now science said I was nothing. The knock on the door snapped me out of it. It was Emily. She came in smiling, Liam on her hip. He saw me and reached out with a giggle. Dada! And that broke me. I burst into tears. Emily froze. What happened? She asked. I couldn't speak. I just handed her the papers. She took one look and sat down. Quiet. No fake tears. No excuses this time. Just silence. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really thought you were the father. I didn't respond. What do you want to do? She asked. What did I want to do? I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back in time. I wanted this to be a nightmare I could wake up from. But mostly, I wanted Liam to still be mine. And that's what made it so much worse, because my love for him didn't disappear with that paper. That night, I stayed in the guest room. Emily cried in the master bedroom. Liam slept peacefully, unaware that the world around him had fallen apart. For the next few days, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was allowed to feel. Everyone says DNA doesn't make a father, right? But suddenly, I wasn't his father, not legally, not biologically. I didn't even know if I had any rights. I spoke to a lawyer. He told me something that hit me like a truck. You've been acting as his father, but if you're not the biological dad and you're not on the birth certificate, you don't have any legal claim unless you go through court. So I was a stranger. A ghost in the house I helped build. Emily kept apologizing, saying we could work it out, saying I could still be in Liam's life. But every time I looked at her, I saw betrayal. Every time I looked at Liam, I saw confusion, not his fault, but a reminder that I'd been living someone else's life. I started pulling away. I'd still help out with him. I couldn't just flip a switch and stop being dad. But I felt hollow inside. Like I was just going through the motions. And honestly, I think Emily knew I was getting ready to leave. Then one night, she said something that flipped everything again. The real dad, he wants to meet him. I stared at her, my blood turning cold. You told him? She nodded, ashamed. He's been asking about him. I told him the truth. I couldn't believe it. I had lost everything, and now the guy who cheated with her behind my back was stepping in like he had some right to play hero? I told her, if he wants to be a dad, then he can take full responsibility. She blinked. What do you mean? I mean, let him raise Liam. You and I are done. He's not my son. I'll walk away, clean. No court battles, no drama. I'm out. She didn't believe me at first. Thought I was bluffing. But I wasn't. I started packing that night. She begged me not to go. Said we could fix it. Said Liam would miss me. That I was the only dad he knew. And that was the hardest part. Knowing that walking away would hurt him more than anyone. But staying? Staying would destroy me. Because every time I'd hear him call me dad, I'd remember the truth. And I deserved better. Liam deserved better. He deserved to grow up knowing who his real father was, not being caught in some fake fairy tale I was forced into. So I signed over all rights. I left. And it felt like someone ripped out a piece of my heart and tossed it in the trash. Leaving that apartment felt like walking away from a funeral. Not just the end of a relationship or the end of being a father. It felt like I was burying a part of myself I could never get back. I didn't take much. Just a few bags of clothes, my laptop, and some old photos. I left the crib, the baby monitor, the stuffed giraffe Liam used to sleep with, everything. It all felt too heavy to carry. I moved in with my brother for a while. He had a spare room and didn't ask many questions, which I appreciated. Everyone else in my life was full of opinions. My mom wanted me to fight for custody. He's your son no matter what, she said. My dad, always the more practical one, told me I did the right thing. You can't build a life on lies, son. But none of it helped. Nothing anyone said made me feel better. I missed Liam. I missed him constantly. His laugh, the way he'd grip my finger, the way he used to snuggle into my chest when he was tired. That stuff doesn't just go away. It stays in your bones. Some nights, I'd hear phantom cries. Like my brain was still wired to respond to him. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking I had to warm up a bottle. And then I'd remember he wasn't mine. I didn't even know if he still remembered me. Emily didn't contact me after I left. Not once, no texts, no calls. And I didn't reach out either. I figured she was busy playing family with the real dad now. The guy who swooped in after I did all the hard work. Bitter? Yeah, I was. But mostly, I was grieving. Because it wasn't just Liam I lost. It was my identity. For 2 years, I was dad. That word meant everything. It gave me purpose. It gave me stability. I shaped my whole life around that role. Every decision, every sacrifice. And suddenly, it was gone. And what made it worse? I couldn't even talk about it properly. How do you explain to someone that you're mourning a child that was never biologically yours? How do you tell someone that every time you see a kid at the grocery store, your heart shatters a little? So I kept it in. Smiled when people asked how I was doing. Said things like taking it one day at a time when all I wanted to do was scream. I went back to work, tried to act normal. My coworkers treated me like I was made of glass. They tiptoed around the subject. One guy even had the nerve to say, "Well, at least you found out now and not later." I wanted to punch him. Instead, I just nodded and went back to my desk. But behind closed doors, I was a mess. I drank more than I should have. Ate junk. Stopped going to the gym. I let everything slide because, honestly, I didn't care. What was the point of keeping it together if everything I had built was already destroyed? I hit rock bottom about a month after leaving. I was sitting in the shower, fully dressed, water running over me like some pathetic movie scene. And I just broke, full-on sobbing. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to forget him. I wanted to erase every diaper I changed, every bedtime story I read, every time he called me Dada. But I couldn't, so I made a choice. If I couldn't forget, I'd have to learn how to carry it. The next day, I made a list. Just a small one. Drink water, shower, eat real food, go outside for 10 minutes. That's it. That was my to-do list. Sounds stupid, right? But when you're in that kind of mental place, even brushing your teeth feels like climbing a mountain. So I started small. I called a therapist, found someone who specialized in grief and identity trauma. And man, therapy was hard. It wasn't just crying on a couch. It was digging up stuff I didn't even know I had buried. My fear of being alone, my desperate need to prove I was good enough, my habit of losing myself in other people's problems just so I didn't have to face my own. We talked a lot about Liam. I told her how I still saw him in dreams, how I still remembered the weight of him sleeping on my chest. She told me something that stuck with me. Grief doesn't always make sense. Just because the relationship wasn't real in the biological sense doesn't mean your feelings weren't. That helped. It didn't fix everything, but it helped. I started journaling again, writing down memories of Liam, the good ones. Not to torture myself, but to keep them safe. Because those moments mattered, even if the foundation underneath them didn't. And slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. I got back into shape. Started meal prepping again. I called my mom more. I took my niece to the zoo. Little things that made me feel like a human being again. I wasn't Dad anymore, but I was still someone. I was still me. And that had to be enough. It had been almost 6 months since I walked away when I got a message that stopped me cold. It wasn't from Emily. It was from the other guy, the biological father. His name was Kyle. Yeah, I had seen his name in the phone messages before, the one saved as Ashley in Emily's phone. But reading it now in plain text with a subject line that just said, "Can we talk?" felt surreal. I didn't reply right away. I stared at it for days. I didn't want to hear his excuses. I didn't want to relive the betrayal. But curiosity is a powerful thing. And part of me, the part that still missed Liam every single day, needed to know what kind of man was now playing Dad. So I opened the message. It wasn't long, just a few paragraphs. But it was honest, more honest than I expected. He said he didn't know Emily had been in a serious relationship, that she told him she had broken things off, that he found out about Liam only after she told him I left. And when he did find out, he demanded a paternity test. He got the results. Just like I did, 0 doubt. Liam was his. Then he said something that hit different. "I know you don't owe me anything, but I owe you a lot. You were the one who showed up. You did the hard part. I'm not trying to replace you, man. I just want to do the right thing now." I sat there in silence after reading it. I didn't know whether to be angry or relieved. He didn't seem like a jerk. He wasn't glowing, wasn't rubbing it in. He was just real. Still, I didn't respond. What would I even say? Thanks for taking over where I left off? Hope you're better at staying faithful than Emily was? Nah, I wasn't ready. But I did something else. I drove by the park. The same park where Emily used to take Liam. I didn't even plan to. My car just sort of ended up there. And then I saw them. Emily, Kyle, and Liam. They were playing on the swings. Liam was laughing. He looked bigger. More like a little boy than a baby. He still had that same curly hair, same chubby cheeks. I parked far enough to not be seen. Just watched. It broke me and healed me all at once. He looked happy. They looked stable. I thought it would feel like a slap in the face. But instead, it felt like closure. Like seeing the final chapter of a book I never got to finish reading and realizing maybe it ended exactly how it was supposed to. I drove away. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just breathed. That night, I did something I hadn't done since the breakup. I took all of Liam's photos out of the drawer and put them in an album. Not to mourn, but to remember. Because no matter what DNA said, those moments were real to me. They mattered. He mattered. And I wasn't going to pretend otherwise. A few weeks later, I finally messaged Kyle back. I kept it short. I appreciate what you said. I hope you're taking care of him. He deserves a good life. He replied, always. You ever want to meet for coffee? I'm open. And maybe one day I will. Not for Emily. Not even really for Kyle. But maybe, just maybe, for Liam. To make sure he knows that once upon a time, someone loved him like a father, even if it wasn't forever. Time doesn't heal everything, but it helps you carry the weight differently. It's been over a year now since I walked away from that life. And I won't lie to you, some days still hurt. Random things hit me when I least expect it. A little boy laughing in a store. The scent of baby powder. A lullaby in a TV commercial. And just like that, I'm back in that nursery, holding a child who thought I was his dad. But the pain? It's no longer sharp. It doesn't stab, it just aches quietly, like an old scar. And in some strange way, I've made peace with that. Because what happened to me, the betrayal, the lies, the heartbreak, it taught me more about myself than any peaceful season of life ever could. I learned how much I could survive. I learned that love doesn't always come wrapped in truth. And I learned that sometimes doing the right thing feels nothing like winning. I started building a new life. New apartment, new job, new people around me. I even adopted a dog, a big, goofy rescue named Max, who somehow always knows when I'm having a rough day. He's no Liam, but he's family in his own way. And yes, I started dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. I wasn't out looking for anything serious. But then came Jenna. We met at a bookstore. Yeah, super cliche, I know. She laughed at my choice of thriller novels and asked if I ever read anything that wouldn't give me nightmares. Her smile was warm. Her eyes were kind. And when I told her, eventually, about everything I'd been through, she didn't run. She didn't judge, she just listened. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a broken man trying to explain himself. I felt like me again. Jenna didn't try to fix me. She didn't try to make me forget Liam. Instead, she said something I'll never forget. Maybe you weren't his forever, Dad, but you were his first, and that matters. And yeah, it really does. That little boy will never remember my face. He won't remember how I sang him to sleep, or how I held his hand when he learned to walk. But I remember, and I think that counts for something. Sometimes I wonder if I'd do it all over again, if I knew from the start that Liam wasn't mine. Would I still change the diapers? Rock him to sleep? Whisper I love you into his tiny ears? The answer? Yes. Because love, real love, isn't about biology. It's about showing up. And I showed up. Even when I didn't have to. Even when the truth broke me. So yeah, maybe I wasn't his dad on paper. But for a while, I was the only dad he knew. And no test, no lie, no betrayal can erase that. Now, my life looks different. It's quieter. Simpler. But it's mine. And I've made peace with the past, not because I forget it, but because I finally stopped letting it define me. I don't hate Emily anymore. I don't even hate Kyle. They're living their version of the truth now. I hope Liam is happy. I hope he's loved. I hope when he looks back one day, he knows that someone out there gave up everything to do what was right for him. And that someone was me. If you're watching this and you've ever been lied to, manipulated, or left picking up the pieces of someone else's mess, hear this. You are not weak for loving deeply. You are not stupid for trusting someone. You are not broken beyond repair. What happened to you doesn't define you, but how you rise after the fall. That's where your power is. You're stronger than you think. And just because a chapter ends doesn't mean the story's over. Sometimes the plot twist becomes the best part. If this story moved you, please don't forget to give it a like. And if you love emotional, powerful stories like this one, please make sure to subscribe to the channel.